Welcome along to the Army Analysis series. And today we're looking at another army in late Antiquity. We're looking at the Bosporan 11 AD army with Roman 24 BC allies. Let's zoom in. This is quite a Roman-centric, Roman-style army, infantry heavy. And if you look at this map, this is just a random map. In this kind of map is going to be good for you because you want to have a fairly narrow area for your infantry. If you've got wide open spaces, because there's quite a lot of cavalry heavy armies in LA, they're just going to be able to come around you quite quickly and easily. But we've got this huge sea or lake or whatever it is on your side of the map, and then also quite a lot of forests, woodland. It's just going to be more difficult for cavalry heavy armies, so that is a plus. The map is a plus. I've talked about the Legionnaires in other videos. I took out one of the first videos I did actually for LA, the Roman 197 AD list. These are fantastic units. We've only got two, but still two is I'll take it. It's fine. They are tremendous. They are impact foot, superior and armored. We all know about them, but probably, to be honest with you, in LA they're just stronger than in classical, because in classical they're up against pikes, they're up against armored hoplites, veteran spear, other impact foot, so it's harder for the Legionnaires. But I think in LA infantry armies are just weaker, smaller, not as many good quality infantry units on the battlefield, and they smash through many units like your average warband, your average spear, Bedu foot, Sassanid foot. They're just not going to stand up to these troops. So okay, we've only got two, but we do have some so-called mediocre Roman Legionnaires as well, and they are actually pretty good. I was looking at them in more detail, and I did some tests. Against your average infantry, even these mediocre Roman Legionnaires are up 100 against Bedu foot, 100 on impact against Sassanid foot, and against both those units they're 25 up in melee. They're up against even the dismounted noble lancers. They're 50 up. They're down in melee, but they're still 50 up on impact. Against your warband, they're 10 down because of the deep ranks of the warband. They're 10 down against warband, but they're 25 up in melee. So they are really good troops. They will do a job against most of the infantry that they face in LA. We've also got some of these medium foot. They are actually excellent because the Roman style medium foot is armored, so they get that plus for having armor. And in my experience, when I've used them on the battlefield before, they're great against cavalry because of the light spear, and they're pretty good against most infantry units because of the armor. So even though they're down maybe against a lot of heavy foot, they're not down by as much as usual because of their bonus for armor, and most of the or a lot of the heavy foot that they'll face will only be protected. They won't have any armor, so they are really decent troops. And we have altogether about 12 infantry units, including one irregular foot, and we've also got imitation legionnaires. Again, in LA, they're great because they're impact and heavy foot and some armor is a great combination. So for 51, it's a bargain. You're not going to be fighting deep rank pikes in LA. Hardly any Roman Legionnaires, only a few. If you're in the league, you might only be fighting against 1 or 2 Roman armies, perhaps. So these kind of troops are going to do really well on the battlefield against most units. It's fairly balanced. I mean, we've got in skirmishers, we've got, is it 10? Yeah, we've got 10 skirmishers, which is a good size. If you've been following my videos, that's a fair size. That Roman army had 6 skirmishers. The 197 list that I looked at, Palmyra only had about 4. They don't have a lot of skirmishers, but Lombard had about 12, and the Arab city had about 9 in my build. So it's about on average. It's for most armies, you're going to have around that or just under. So that's fine. A nice selection of cavalry. So even though we've got some pretty decent infantry here, pretty decent. That Arab city list we looked at yesterday, that infantry is a lot worse than what we have here. A lot worse. We've even got a warband unit here. So this infantry will smash through that Arab foot or Arab city army. But then we've also got a load of noble lancers. And if you have cavalry, what I'm always looking for in my armies are reasonably priced units. And one of the units in the game that is a great, very cost-effective unit is the noble lancers. Only 48. And if you look, say we compare to the Roman lancers are armored and average quality. Noble lancers are superior quality and protected. Always go for quality. Quality counts on impact, and it also counts in melee, whereas a unit like this that's armored, it doesn't count. That armor advantage doesn't count on impact. So, and you also get slightly more. I mean, a lot of units, they get about a plus 25 advantage for armor, whereas superior quality, it's about 50. It does vary a little bit depending on units, but that's the average. So if you can, always go for quality. And we've got some quality and we've got some noble lancers, and a nice number, 5. It would be nice to have a few more, but 5 is a fair size. We've also got some armored noble lancers as well. So, you know, together with your decent infantry, this is quite a good army. It is quite a good army. Good lancers. They're going to kill off, you know, armored cav or noble cav, and even the better lancers, like, I don't know, Byzantine lancers, for example. The armored noble lancers, they're going to be able to hold for quite some time, because the advantage for the armor, as I've said, isn't that great. So they can really hold in place much better units. Got our lancers here. So a pretty decent army. We've got some light horse archers. We've got 5. I think there's another one hidden away somewhere. Oh, we've got a couple over here. Okay. And the javelin horse. Yeah. So we've got about 6 light horse. I suppose that's one disadvantage with this army. In terms of flexibility, not so much that you can do. If you remember yesterday with that Arab city army, it had about roughly, max was around 22 units of the bedded foot you could go to. I had about 13, so if I wanted to, I could take a lot more infantry. Also, that contingent of Bedu Cav that I had, the cheap lancers, I had around 8, and you could max to 12. So I could, and there was other options for cavalry as well in that list. So I could have taken out more cav. With this list, we just, you know, we're maxed on the noble lancers. It's quite expensive. The armored noble lancers, 64. Roman cavalry is not that great. I suppose, you know, if you wanted some cheap cav, there's 2 units there. We don't have any more horse archers to take out. Infantry is maxed, really. There's only irregular foot that we can take out. And also skirmishers, not that much more. We could take about another 4. Fairly limited anyway, fairly limited in your options. Can't take out any more infantry really, apart from irregular foot. And if for the cav, you're either going for the quite expensive options, the armoured noble lancers, or the pretty poor Roman cavalry, and no more horse archers, and no more light horse either. So that is a little bit of a disadvantage. If I was playing on this map, there's a couple of ways you could play. If you were going to be aggressive and you wanted to really go at your opponent, I would probably just line up here. You know, I've got my C next to me, so I can't get flanked. March on up, and then probably what I would do, I would get my, I've got quite a lot of cavalry, so my flank is going to be fairly secure, to be fair. A lot of lancers there, but the medium foot with the light spear, they're quite good to have on the flanks, because A, they've got the light spear, which are quite good against cavalry charges, and B, they are maneuverable, so that's good. They're just more maneuverable than your average heavy foot, and so it's quite nice to have those kind of troops on the flanks, and then you could just move forwards. That might be one way to play. If you're going to be more defensive and, you know, use the heel, I don't know, if it's a cavalry heavy army, then there's a lot of woodland here. You could put skirmishers in there, set some traps up. You're quite comfortable here. You can also, one thing I noticed is artillery, so that would be quite nice. Maybe set up some artillery here, fire away at the enemy. That might be useful. So that's our list before us. Not so many options. Yeah, it would be nice to have more noble lancers. It'd be nice to have some light horse. We have hardly any light horse really. Okay, we have got the light horse archers, but they're, you know, for the standard light horse, they're quite expensive at 40, and javelin horse is only 24, so not 4, almost doubles the price. So it'd be nice to have some javelin horse or something. My rating, probably about a B+. The infantry is excellent for the period. You're going to be able to do well against most armies. You've got quite a lot of skirmishers, so that's going to help you. You've got a lot of lancers here. Lancers are great, and we've got the cheaper end lancers at 48. Great value for money, so that's a plus. We've got a little bit of the horse archers to cover. Might be nice to have some expert horse archers or something like that, but there we go. These light horse archers will probably do a job. The win rate. Now, what was the win rate? It is about 56%. So that's pretty good. The Lombard was 57%. The Arab city was 58%. So it's a decent army, a good army. It is up there as being one of the best win rates for our series and for the armies that we've covered so far. As I always say, that that's just an indicator that covers league play and 12 seasons of league play, and you've got good players, bad players, and indifferent players. So you've got to take that with a pinch of salt. But I think overall, I always say that the decent armies, good armies, are around 55 to 60%. It seems to be a lot of those armies are around that percent, and this is there. So I think it's mainly to do with the infantry. You've got some really good infantry, and then backed up with the noble lancers. That is a good combination, a really good combination, especially on maps like this. That's good for you, and probably bad for most of your opponents. Okay, that's about it. Thanks a lot for watching. If you played with this army, please leave some comments below. Played against it. Maybe there's something that I've missed. But yeah, a B+ from me. And see you again soon.